Alrighty.
So the white side is like the prepped canvas part of it. You need the darker side. So you should have your clay unwrapped. You will need to, when you store your chunk of clay, you will be putting it back into the trash bag. So you need to keep it, but you need your chunk.
You said white side on bottom, right, for the mat?
Correct. Correct.
All right.
You're all good. So now you should have, I want you to put your tools laid out in front of you, the ones that were in your kit. And you're just going to have your bowl, I'm using a bowl because I don't have any things left, but your container to the side for right now. Once you get that laid out, you're going to find this tool. This is called a wire tool because it is practically just a wire. One side is white, that means that it's been prepped on the canvas, and one side is more tan. You're going to be working on the tan side. So you need to find your wire tool. It should have two handles on it and a big wire in between. These do get tangled very easily, and a simple way to make another one is just with dental floss. So floss will also cut through clay, but this is the tool that you're provided with, and this works the best. So you're going to have your chunk of clay right in front of you, and we're going to cut off a little bit, and that's going to be called a slab. So you're going to take your wire tool. I like to hold mine a little bit closer, kind of like you would if you're flossing. You're going to line it up on your clay. Mine is right here. And you're going to pull all the way through. It should be about the thickness of like a piece of Texas toast. So like the toast that you get in the freezer section that kind of tastes like garlic bread, it's going to be about that thick and about that size. Once you have that, we are going to put the bigger chunk of our clay to the side because we won't be using it for a little bit. So you're cutting your slab using your wire tool, and it's going to be about the thickness of Texas toast, or about go up to the first knuckle on your finger. On this piece of clay that you have, we are going to be testing out the different tools. So once you have your chunk cut with the wire tool, put it to the side. Again, this tangles easily. And I want you to get this tool. This is called the loop tool. So it has a circle, a curved edge on one side, and on the other side, it's more squared off and it has a bit of a rectangle part to it. Looks like a triangle. Looks like a triangle. Be like a beauty guru. So this tool is commonly used in the leather hard stage. Right now we're in the plastic or workable stage. The leather hard stage is where we can trim our project, add feet or legs to our project, and add larger decorations. So with your loop tool, with the tool that is more rectangular, triangular on one side, and it has a smaller loop on one side, I want you to just try and trim your slab of clay. So you will get little chunks that fall off. You can try out either side of it. It cuts out little bits of clay. So it creates a negative space or an indent into your clay. if you want with these extra little chunks, you can just stick them on your big chunk of clay, or you can just slap them back on the slab that you have. So now I want you to find the loop tool. The loop tool is like the trimming tool, except it is much bigger. This is like the heavy duty one. And I want you to do the same thing you tried with the trimming tool. I want you to scrape it against the clay, and you can see that it takes up a much bigger chunk. So you might use this if you make the walls of your project a little bit too thick. You can also use this, the trimming tool, for that as well. If you want to trim larger areas of your project. This is also used in wheel throwing to create a foot once you have already created a project. And I'd like to mention, if you have your camera off, I would like you to turn it on, but just angle your camera down so I can see what you're working on. And if you're more comfortable by using a green screen and projecting an image in your background, you can do that, but your camera does need to be on so I can see what you're working on and I can see that you are doing what we're doing in class. So we just tried out the loop tool. The loop tool is a heavy duty trimming tool. Next, I want you to get out this one. This is called a rib. It has a curve on one side, but it's flat on two. This has a right angle. So this is used in wheel throwing and in hand building, and it comes in wooden or it comes in metal. So this is used to smooth out the side of a project, or when you're wheel throwing, this would be used to create a curved edge or a bowl. So we're going to be using the flat edge, and I want you to press onto your clay, make it a little textured. Don't stick like your entire finger in it like that, but just make the top a little bit textured, because this is what it's probably going to look like when we're making our pinch pots. To use the rib, like the rib, like the food, RIB, you're going to just pull it across the top, and it's going to start smoothing out your surface. It will scrape up a little bit of clay. You can either put this in your slip bucket once we start using that, or you can stick it on your big slab of clay. But the rib is used to smooth out rough edges. I want you to pause working with your rib for right now, and I want you to find this longer wooden tool. So this is called a modeling tool. It has a curved end on one side and it has a pointy end on the other. So this can be used in a variety of ways, and basically it's used with this title. It's used to model. So a lot of sculpture is moving the clay around to make a form that you like. So you can try, it will make an indent into your clay. You can poke it through. It can be used to make divots, work up clay, can smooth stuff out. This is such a versatile tool, and we will be experimenting and using it more once we actually start our projects. Ceramics is fun and exciting because everybody has their own way of doing things. So you might like to use this tool, but you also might find out that your finger can smooth clay and mold clay a lot better than this can. So it is up to the person that you're working on. It's up to your project, and it's up to you. You'll figure that out as we go along. So this is the modeling tool. We have two more tools, and they kind of go together. So we're going to be studying this one first. This one is pointy on the end, so you need to be careful of it because it's called the needle tool. So the needle tool, it does have a point on the end, and this one's versatile as well. So like I talked about when we were studying the different types of hand building, when you create a hollow space, so like if you combine two pinch pots together, air needs to escape or else it will explode. And I mentioned that you will poke a hole in it so that the air can escape. This is the tool, because when you just poke it, that hole is the perfect size for the air to escape, and it's barely noticeable when you're working with your project. This tool is also used when we are slipping and scoring. So if you remember correctly, the slip is the second stage in clay once we've added water to it, and it's the texture of pudding, and it's used as the glue. Slip does not work alone. You also need to score. I want you to practice scoring. It is just making little marks on your clay going one way, and then you also need to go the other way. This creates teeth, kind of like if you feel the rougher side of Velcro, this is like that. When you are connecting two objects together, you need to score. This is called scoring, making the little hash marks. You need to score both sides to make sure that it will definitely not fall off. Because if it falls off, you will be very sad and I will be very sad. And so this is one way of preventing that. So imagine you're combining two things. Like I want to combine this piece of clay to this. I also need to score the edge that I want to connect. And this is where our paintbrush comes in handy. You guys don't have slip yet, but we'll be making it tomorrow. You can get slip on the end of your paintbrush, and you can use that to swipe it on. And then you stick the sides that you scored together, and now it is secure and it's on there. So that is using the needle tool. And the slip, the paintbrush is really only for the slip as of right now. And you don't even need to use a paintbrush. They're just if you don't want to stick your fingers in slip. If you want to just use your finger to rub slip on your project, feel free to. This is just so it gets a little less messy, even though ceramics is messy. One thing I want to mention now is how you're going to be cleaning your materials. First, I want you to sending you on a scavenger hunt, because we need to deal with this chunk of clay that we cut off before we clean. Imagine that this is your project. You're not going to be squishing your project like this, but if you have it flat, form it into like a little tiny little ball for storage. Now our scavenger hunt is to find a piece of plastic. So this can be saran wrap, this can be a trash bag, this can be a plastic bag, some piece of plastic that we can cover our projects with. And please do that now.
Could you use like a normal plastic bag?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. All right.
So once you have if you have a plastic bag, I'll show you how to do this first, and I'll show you how to do the saran wrap second. But you're just gonna stick your clay in your bag, like you're taking it home from the grocery store. You're going to hold the handles like this, and you're just going to twist it. So it's okay if air gets trapped in there, kind of like a balloon, but we just want to make sure that it is sealed in there. We have this loose end where if we're opening our project back up again, it will open. We need to make sure that that is underneath our project. The weight of the clay will make sure that no air will escape, and your project will be perfectly fine and you can use it again the next day. So if you are using saran wrap, imagine this is my piece of saran wrap. You stick your chunk of clay right in the middle, and you're gonna wrap it like a present so that all sides are right on one side. And then just like with the plastic bag, you're going to flip it so that no air can get out. So this is nice and sealed, and it's ready to be used again the next day. So we're going to put this aside for right now, and right now we have all of our tools. So I've been working on this table. You guys should not have too much clay on your mats right now, so this point is optional. You have the option to fill up your bucket with water, and we have your sponge. So with your sponge, you're going to fill it with water, and you're going to just drip it onto your mat. You can take this piece of clay, not piece of clay, you can take your sponge, and you're just going to rub your piece of canvas. This will make sure that any particles of dust are flattened or picked up by your sponge, and you can do this multiple times. So you're going to wet it down one time. You can stick your sponge in your water, swirl it around, drop some water on it, and you're going to clean it like you would clean a table. If you don't do this after we've been working on a bigger project and our mats might get messier, clay particles will get into your air for a long period of time. That's not good to breathe in. So you need to make sure that you're doing this because the water secures it to the mat. It makes sure that the clay dust doesn't get up into your air because there's silica in the clay, and that's not good to inhale for a long period of time. So after you've cleaned up your mat, your bucket of water will look a little bit messy. So it's perfect to clean the rest of your tools. To clean your tools, you're just gonna stick them in the bucket and just rub your hands over them to get the excess clay off. They don't need to be perfect, they just can't have big chunks left on them. So one thing I mentioned when people were picking up their supplies, picking up their clay, and I've mentioned it in class too, is that you never dump clay water down the drain. So what I want you to do instead is after you've cleaned up all of your tools, after you've cleaned up your mat, you're going to dump this water outside. If we were in the ceramics room, I have strainers in my sinks that we would dump this through. But if this clay water goes down your drain and chunks of clay get in your drain, you will not have a happy parent, you will not have a happy plumber because it is not fun. So you dump that water outside. After you've done that, you can put all of your tools back in that bucket to use for the next day. And then I want you to try and keep everything for ceramics close to one another. So have your project close to one another. Have your big chunk of clay close to one another, all in the same space. So speaking of our big chunk of clay, it's still out in the open. And we need to do something with it because if we leave it out in the open air, it is going to dry out and you can't use it anymore. So if you have the big clear plastic bag, you can stick your clay back inside of that and just make sure, like we did with our project, make sure that it is twisted and that the opening is on the bottom so no air gets inside. And I'm going to show you that have the trash bag, how to secure it. So here is our trash bag. This is what your clay came in. trash bags have one closed and one side that's closed and one side that has an opening. You're going to lay it out on your table like this. So that the opening is on one side. So the opening is on one side, like if we were going to put trash inside, and that the closed end is on the other. Again, I'm recording this, so if you want to, you can go back and look at this again. And I also have a video of how I learned how to do this that I'm going to share with you probably this afternoon. So you have your open end, you have your closed end, and you have your big chunk of clay. You're going to put your big chunk of clay right by the open end. So this is the end that we would put trash in. And there are two sides to that now that it's laying on our table. We have one side that's on the bottom and one side that's on the top. You're going to put the side that's on the top over the top bit of clay to seal it a little bit. And then you're going to roll it. So you're just going to roll your clay, making sure that this other side of the open end doesn't get wrapped up in it. So you're going to roll and roll and roll and roll and roll until it is nice and secure. If you don't have time to do this today and you'd rather watch the video, you can always just stick it in the trash bag and secure it like we did our clay in the plastic bag. But I'm going to demonstrate it one more time because this really is the best way to seal clay so that it does not dry out. So you have your closed end and you have your open end. You're going to lay it out on your table. On the open end, you're going to set down your piece of clay. It has two flaps to it. You're going to secure the top one on the top, and you're going to roll your project, making sure that this other end doesn't get wrapped up too. You're going to roll and roll and roll until it's secure. And you're just gonna keep all of your clay stuff together so it doesn't get mixed up. So for tomorrow, we are going to start making our pinch pots. This one, we're just going to learn how to do it. It's okay if it's not perfect, but you will need a container that has a lid on it because we are going to be making slip. It can be a Tupperware container that's a little bit smaller. It can be any container that has a lid on it. So butter container that has been washed out really well, sour cream container, cottage cheese, basically any dairy product, not a milk carton though. Just a container that has a lid. And you can either wear clothes that you might want to get a little bit messier, but this is like an old shirt that I found. You can use just a plain t-shirt. Bunches of clay also shouldn't be washed. So just make this like your ceramic shirt, just something that you can slip on every day at the beginning of ceramics class so you won't have to worry about getting your everyday clothes dirty. And if you have not completed the attendance PowerPoint, you need to do that by the end of the day. As of right now, it's late, but as of tomorrow, it's even more late and you'll lose more points. If you remember from my syllabus, you lose 10 percentage points each day that it is late. This weekend, I counted just as one day. And I believe in your class, there is a lot of people who did not submit that yet. Another thing you need to submit is the photo of your ceramic supplies and the photo of the supplies that you bought onto our Google Classroom. That will be late as of right now, but I just want to see that you have everything that you need to succeed. Because if you don't, you need to talk to me because we should all be successful in this class. For the attendance PowerPoint, there's a video on how to make that on our Google Classroom. So if you have any questions, reference that before emailing me so I don't get 10,000 emails tonight on how do I do this. Watch the video first, and then if you have any questions, then email me. And you'll need everything that we use today tomorrow during class. Are there any questions?